Hey YouTube. So yeah, that's if there's some like little screaming and paper crunching in the background, that's my daughter. And she's got a couple of older siblings too. But she's the baby. And I'm just going over some of the book collections, some magazines, as well as some books from the beginning of stuff, and some things on philosophy. And it's my wife coming in. And more photo books. Helmet Gilden, ARAKI, Anton Corbin, some friends of mine, especially like this one, Paul Zone. He did some stuff in the 70s and some punk books, and Burroughs, so literature, stuff like that. Yeah, this book I was in, it's Return of Crown Alice. So, my friend Olivier, there's a few different companies that make these books. Taschen, Rizzoli. We have a store, actually I visited in New York. A lot of small publishers do these Moriyama books. These are his journals, kind of tight in there, so I won't take them out. And then my wife got this book, Farewell Photography. It's for my birthday a couple years ago. And Petersen, my friend Eric Kim has actually done a workshop with, Swedish. And one of his teachers, Christer Strömholm, who I have kind of a strange, interesting relationship with. One of my mentors, painter, Strömholm actually photographed in Paris in the 50s. Strange how this world works. And then Robert Frank in the Americas, which of course my other teacher, Allen Ginsberg, introduced me to Frank. Joel Meyerowitz, EGGLESTON, who's from the same part of the country as I am, shooting out of Memphis. I'm originally from Kentucky. Bruce Gilden, and this one's more of his portraits. And then some of his older work, which is kind of interesting. So this was his work from New Orleans, and not quite the Gilden photographer that we know now, but you can see how it's starting to get that way. He's starting to get closer, but this was all done, obviously very high grain, probably 1600 or 800 ISO, T-Max, so they could shoot fast, but at the same time get interesting portraits using natural light, looks like mostly here. But interesting subjects, which is another thing that's kind of part of the game. And if you look at that as opposed to another photo book series that I have of his, we'll get this out of the way. You'll see his relatively famous work is actually from a fashion magazine. Of the Magnum photographers, Gilden and Martin Parr both did this fashion magazine, which was basically they shot the whole thing, their style, and then they did even the ads. And in Bruce's case, you'll see like relatively, but these are not strict street photography at all, because these are models, or at least talent that they've worked with, to kind of create a scene. So you'll see, like, looks like a street portrait, but the reality is that, in some of these cases, like this was done in a cemetery, this one called Funeral, and Bruce said to me, actually, about this. He says, we tried to get the Catholic cemeteries to do it, and they were like, oh my gosh, it's sacrilegious. And then he said, and then we asked the Jewish cemeteries, and well, they said, how much? Yeah, quite funny. He's Jewish, so that wasn't an anti-Semitic statement. It's just kind of a funny statement. Here's this one book by ANTOINE Degatta, as well as, like, right next to it, my friend Michael Donovan in New York, who was my art director for a while. I actually did a podcast with him, if you look it up. Was kind of talking, kind of laughing about the fact that I did one of the covers of my own magazine. But not something a lot of people do. His book, God in Drag, is pretty interesting. So this is another fashion photographer, but not in the same light as a lot of people that you would consider. Michael has a lot of different points of view about fashion that maybe makes it more of an art related scene, interaction between two individuals. There, a lot of lights and darks, of course, sexuality, but also things that are pulling from popular culture, things like sci-fi and using weird filters, proving digital as digital. So this was obviously something that was done in Photoshop, but not retouching per se. This looks like assemblage or collage with paint, close-ups, faces, very odd shots to where the foreground and the other are doing different things.
She just stood up by herself.
Oh my gosh. And the baby just stood up by herself. Yay. Pretty amazing. Wow. So I'm going to probably go for now. This is another one I'll leave with Michael's work. Something that we can talk about. I'll leave his God in Drag is the book, his only title right now. Maybe instead of leaving with Michael, I'll leave with ARAKI. So, and this again is a Taschen title. Anyway, there's a lot of different things that have to do with the book publishing world, and street photography and fashion photography and art photography all seem to be kind of melded into one thing. And so it's my book collection. And I'll leave you all with this, and I'll get to my life for at least a few minutes. Thanks. I'll leave some links, I guess, in the notes, and if you want to make any comments, go right ahead. I'll try to produce something that's maybe a little bit more. There's some Polaroids. Cat's trying to get it. A little bit more, comments, and tell me what you'd like to see next, and maybe I'll try to produce a video a little bit better than just shooting it on this iPhone, as I've been doing. And say goodbye to Frida the cat. Bye, Frida. Bye, YouTube.